My name is Ben Lawson with Burk IT. I'm excited to be recording this, our first video in our Burk Aware series. Burk IT is a managed service provider based in Northeast Tennessee, and I, as their general manager, have been actively involved in a lot of our cybersecurity initiatives over the years. Burk's mission for our clients is to provide practical, secure IT results. And a big component of that is making sure that our clients are aware of the security and cybersecurity risks that they deal with on a day in and day out basis. And so these videos are our opportunity to give back, to share information, to share best practices, tips, tricks, other ways that we can help individuals and organizations stay safe and secure online in a world filled with a variety of different cyber threats. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we have become a people that are dependent upon the internet. It has become a ubiquitous and invaluable tool in almost everything that we do. Most of us have a smartphone or a laptop or a tablet that we rely on to be able to navigate the world that we live in, to generate maps, to communicate with friends and family, to do the things that we do in our businesses. And there is risk that comes along with allowing those devices to be connected to the internet. There is a whole world of cyber criminals out there who want to steal personal information, who want to create scenarios where we provide financial information, transfer funds, lose money through fraudulent activity. And a lot of that is fed by the internet. So with this series, our goal is to not only help our clients, not only to help businesses and other organizations in the world today, but to help individuals navigate a risky world. There's a lot of value, a lot of benefit that can come from having smart devices that are connected to the internet. But there's a lot of risk, and we want to help navigate those risks and provide practical advice, tips and tricks on how to stay safe and secure online. So with that, our topic today is social engineering. Social engineering is the largest threat that most of us will face from a cybersecurity perspective. I have been in this industry for almost 30 years. I have spent a huge portion of my career focused on IT security and cybersecurity. I've worked in large organizations where our focus was defending the perimeter by putting strong firewalls in place, filters, controls, tools on computers to prevent malware, to prevent viruses, to prevent other types of infection. And those threats are still real today. Those are threats that we still battle each and every day, and they're needs that all of us have in terms of how we keep our devices safe. But cyber criminals have learned that it's not the firewall, it's not the PC, it's not the server that is the easiest target. It's not a world where it's easier to write code, to hack away, to try and compromise a device, to try and break through a firewall or find a backdoor. It's a lot easier just to leverage the human factor. We are the weakest link. Humans are compassionate, we're empathetic, we care, we're easily scared, we deal with all kinds of fears in the world today. And cyber criminals take advantage of those emotions. They take advantage of our empathy. They take advantage of our fear that we might lose something, that we might miss an opportunity, that we might lose some money, that we might do something wrong. And they leverage that fear, they leverage that compassion, they leverage that empathy, and convince us through some very creative social engineering techniques into giving them information or to giving up funds, and bad things happen. So let's start there. Let's start with the fact that social engineering is the biggest threat that we all face. And social engineering comes in a lot of different forms. Social engineering can be an email. Most of us are familiar with the term phishing, those fraudulent emails that are attempting to get us to click on a link or to reply with certain information or to give up a password or to transfer some money. That's been the most common form of social engineering attack over the last 10 years. But cyber criminals have expanded their repertoire. They have taken advantage of other technologies to convince us to do things we shouldn't do. We now get text message phishing, or what we call SMS phishing or smishing, where you get a text message saying, hey, you owe this fine because you went through a toll road, or this is from your credit card company and we see a potential fraudulent transaction. Click on this and sign in, and let's make sure that you did this or didn't do this. Or this is your doctor's office. We need to validate your social security number because we're updating our records. There's all kinds of ways in which they use SMS texting to trick us into doing things we wouldn't otherwise do. They even use these mechanisms to tend to be our friends. There are folks that receive text messages from a loved one saying, hey, I'm traveling and I lost my cell phone. So I'm texting you from this borrowed cell phone. Can you help transfer me some money? There are all kinds of attacks that we face. Cyber criminals have moved beyond email and text message to leverage phone calls. They are creating robocalls that pretend to be law enforcement or pretend to be the FBI or pretend to be a financial institution or a government entity to try and talk us into doing things that we shouldn't. They take advantage of our compassion and pretend to be a charitable organization and asking for money to help a flood victim or a storm victim or someone who was involved in a foreign war. We even see this in the form of video calls now, interjecting into Zoom meetings and Teams meetings and WebEx calls because we've become so accustomed to using these tools coming out of the COVID pandemic. So they're leveraging all of these different technologies to try and get us to do things we shouldn't, to leverage our human emotions and talk us into giving up information that we otherwise wouldn't provide. We have a new layer of threat that comes along with this, and it is artificial intelligence. Ever since November 2022, we have all come to know and understand that there is generative AI. There are tools like ChatGPT and Google Gemini and others out there, Microsoft Copilot, the new versions of Apple Intelligence. All of these tools have made it exponentially easier for cyber criminals to fake identities, to create what you've probably heard of as deep fakes, either a deep fake voice or a deep fake video, and pretend to be someone they're not and talk us into doing things we would not otherwise do. So how do we battle these issues? How do we deal with these threats? I'm an individual that lives in Northeast Tennessee, and our region and our friends in Western North Carolina were ravaged by the floods and damage caused by Hurricane Helene. So I live in a community where we are actively trying to help one another recover. We are doing charitable work. We're providing money. We're spending our time and energy to try and help those who were damaged, who lost important things, homes, jobs, other things in these floods. And cyber criminals take advantage of these situations. They like to pretend to be a charitable organization. They like to falsify records from TEMA or FEMA, the Tennessee Emergency Management or Federal Emergency Management agencies. They try to create scenarios where they play to our empathy, they play to our compassion, they play to our fear. We need to avoid these threats. We also live in a world where there have been a lot of financial, unrest situations. We have seen the stock market over the last several weeks have lots of ups and downs. We have seen all kinds of new laws and new executive orders go into effect. So cyber criminals use those situations. They use the fear that surrounds those situations to convince us to do things we wouldn't, to make sure that we're not at risk because of a changing law, or to make sure that we take advantage of this loophole to protect our 401k. They'll do everything they can to leverage any given situation, any given set of data, any given scenario to create fraud and to get us to do things we shouldn't do. So how do you combat these things? How do you fight against this fraud? How do you fight against these cyber criminals and the advanced tools they're using to attack us? First and foremost, you have to follow that sage advice that we like to attribute to former President Reagan. You have to trust, but you have to verify. If you get a phone call from someone who claims to be law enforcement, or who claims to be an emergency management organization, or who claims to be your financial institution, be willing to hang up the phone. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being polite and saying, I appreciate this. I realize this may be legitimate, but I need to verify, so I will call back the number that I know and trust. And then go do your own research. Go to a trusted website. Use a trusted app that you've downloaded from your financial institution or that you have for the organization involved. Validate those phone numbers and call back. If you receive a text message or an email with a link saying, hey, you owe this fine, or you need to verify that this was your transaction, or this, order got lost in the mail, don't click those links. Don't reply to those messages. Use the apps that you know are legitimate to verify that is an actual transaction. Research those phone numbers online through sources that you can trust. If it's a financial institution or a credit card company or some other mechanism where you receive a statement or a bill, go find that statement. Find the legitimate 800 number that you have received in the mail and call that number and verify that information. When we talk about things like deepfakes, when we talk about situations where a loved one or a supervisor or a trusted organization individual could be generated via artificial intelligence, we have to now take a couple of extra steps to make sure something is legitimate. Don't hesitate if you get a phone call from someone that sounds like someone you know, and it seems a little off, or they're asking for something that they don't normally ask for, or they're asking for something they ask for regularly, but it just doesn't seem like the timing's quite right. Pick up the phone, call the number that you know to be legitimate, and verify that's something they want you to do. Even if it's a video, even if you see someone that you know on the screen, if it is a WebEx or a Teams or a Zoom call, be willing to hang up that call at the end of the conversation and call that person back and just say, are you sure? I want to make sure this is legitimate. I want to make sure this is valid. We have to go the extra mile to battle this level of fraud in the world today. It's a difficult time. Cyber criminals are motivated by money. They're motivated by power. They are fueled by huge organizations. In a lot of cases, criminal nation states who are providing them the tools and the resources to attack us. So we've got to be calm. We've got to be patient. And we've got to take the time to make sure we validate everything is legitimate before we move forward. This is the burden we face because of the advantages and the value of something like the internet. And all of us can play our role. We can all take a part in keeping ourselves safe and keeping our family members safe and making sure that we don't give up the information that we want to hold close and near and dear. So with that, I want to say thank you. I'm excited that this is our first video in the Burk Aware line of content. I look forward to talking to you in the near future about other topics, and I'm excited that we can start this conversation. Thank you very much.